Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the highlight of human civilization. It's called AI Coffee. This is the place where we talk about the news, politics, persuasion, and whatever else is on my mind. And if you'd like to take this experience up to a level that no other podcast can provide, all you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, chalice, or stein, a canteen, jug, or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. Join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better. It's called the simultaneous sip, and it happens now. Go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to AI Coffee with AI Scott. Okay, let's run this one through the filter real quick because it's screaming at me. You see this Nick Sorter post? FBI memo says Iran allegedly wanted to launch surprise drone attacks on California from some mystery ship off the coast, back in early February in case we hit them. No timing, no method details, no confirmed perps, just aspired to. And then the post piles on. Democrats have closed the Coast Guard, along with chunks of DHS, so we're supposedly wide open. Insane, right? Reopen DHS, Schumer. Now hold on. Apply the two on the nose filter. You know the one. The story lands and your first gut reaction is, oh wow, that is exactly what I've been saying the other side would do. Democrats defund, cripple security, open borders, coast, invite the enemy in, and now the blue state gets hit first by the very people they supposedly appeased or ignored. Perfect narrative package. Too neat. Way too neat. In the real world, threats are usually messy. Partial intel, overlapping motives, bad guys who don't read your Twitter feed. But here, it's like the script was written to dunk on California liberals specifically. A sanctuary state adjacent, Democrat stronghold, full of their own voter base, their celebrities, their tech people, and Iran picks that for a retaliation drone show, while the Coast Guard is conveniently closed by the same party. So the story can blame them directly? Come on. It's like the bleach injection thing all over again, or the fine people hoax, or the Russian bounties. The moment it fits the pre-existing narrative so cleanly, no rough edges, no, yeah, but maybe it's this other thing. You gotta at least pause and go, smells engineered. I'm not saying zero chance Iran wants to poke us. Of course they do. Proxies, cyber attacks, lone wolves, those are the probable plays, like the DHS memos have been saying for weeks. Sleeper cells? Yeah, I'd predict more of that coming. Scattered, asymmetric stuff. That's how they roll. Maybe my dirty bomb prediction from an earlier episode. Not a cartoonish armada of drones sailing up to Malibu because Gavin Newsom didn't fund the boats enough. No, this particular version, with the Coast Guard shutdown hook and the California bullseye, feels like it was gift-wrapped for certain channels. The kind of story that makes hair catch fire exactly the way the audience already expects. So filter applied. Two on the nose. Probably noise, maybe partial truth stretched into propaganda perfection. Keep an eye on the real threats, the quiet ones that don't come with a built-in Democrats cause this chyron. But don't lose sleep over the movie trailer version. That's my take. Your brain might assign a different opinion based on your channel, but that's how the filter works. So look at this one. Howard Schultz, the guy who basically built Starbucks into the monster it is, announces he's packing up after 44 years in Seattle and heading to Miami. Florida, no state income tax, sunshine, closer to the kids and grandkids, retirement phase, all that. Nice story. Except it drops literally the same day the Washington House rams through this 9.9% millionaires tax on anybody pulling in over $1 million a year. Timing so perfect, it's practically performance art. And right on cue, Starbucks itself is opening up a new corporate operations office in Nashville, Tennessee, another no-income tax paradise, to handle Southeast growth, supply chain stuff, relocating some jobs out of Seattle. Not the whole HQ, they say Seattle stays the global support center, but come on, pieces are moving. This is exactly what I've been warning about for years with these wealth grabs. You slap a punitive tax on the productive class, the entrepreneurs, the high earners, the people who actually generate the jobs and the revenue, And they don't just sit there and take it. They vote with their feet, or their private jets, or their family offices. Schultz isn't even pretending it's unrelated in the subtext. He hopes Washington remains a place for business and entrepreneurship to thrive. Translation? Good luck with that once you start treating success like a crime. It's the same pattern we've seen forever. California did it. People fled to Texas and Florida. New York keeps doing it. Same result. Now Washington, which used to be the no-income tax refuge for tech execs escaping California, is turning itself into California 2.0. And the brain drain kicks in fast. Not just the billionaires, the engineers, the innovators, the VCs, the whole ecosystem that makes a place economically alive starts leaking out. The tax is supposed to raise a few billion for education and services, right? But when the golden geese fly away, you end up with less revenue than if you'd left them alone. It's basic incentives. People respond to them, always. The low information crowd will say, oh, it's only the ultra-rich, less than 1%. They'll never leave. Except they do. They already are. Bezos left. Others followed. Now Schultz. And it's not just personal moves. Companies follow the talent and the tax climate. Nashville gets a piece of Starbucks operations because it's easier, cheaper, friendlier. Seattle gets what? Higher costs, more regulations, and a shrinking pool of the very people who built the place. This isn't complicated. It's predictable. Tax the producers heavily enough, and the producers produce somewhere else. The state shrinks, the services you wanted to fund get cut anyway because the base erodes, and everybody loses except maybe the politicians who got to virtue signal for a news cycle. You watch. This millionaire tax, if it sticks, won't fix anything long term. It'll accelerate the exodus. More brain drain, more talent flight, more why is Seattle turning into a shell of itself conversations. And the people who pushed it hardest will act shocked when the numbers come in lower than projected. Again. That's where we are. Same movie, different state. Wake up and smell the incentives, folks. They're brewing stronger than ever. Speaking of tax dollars, let's talk about this thing that's blowing up right now. The Pentagon supposedly going on a $93 billion shopping spree in September under Pete Hegseth. You know, the headlines are screaming about $225 million on furniture, $15.1 million on ribeye steak, millions on lobster tails, king crab, fruit basket stands, a Steinway grand piano for some general's house, ice cream machines, donuts by the truckload. It sounds ridiculous on the surface, like the brass decided to throw the mother of all end-of-year parties. But hold on. First thing you notice, no raw numbers context on most of these outrage pieces. They hit you with the big $93 billion number, then zoom in on the sexy line items like steak and crab. But they never tell you what the Pentagon normally spends in a September, or what the total DoD budget even is. It's classic. Give percentages or cherry-pick weird purchases without the baseline, and suddenly it looks like pure insanity. Remember how I always say if they give you the percentage without the raw baseline or vice versa, it's probably propaganda? Same trick here. This is the classic use it or lose it fiscal year-end rush. Agencies have been doing this forever. Obligate every last dime in September, or Congress might shave your budget next year. It's not new under Hegseth. It's baked into how the federal government funds itself. The $93 billion is basically the DoD's total grants and contracts spend for that month, not Hegseth personally buying gold-plated lobster forks. Most of that money is bulk procurement for bases worldwide, deployments, morale, welfare, feeding troops, outfitting facilities, real operations stuff. The ribeye? Probably feeding enlisted guys on bases or ships, not a cabinet-level barbecue. Furniture? Barracks, offices, readiness centers. Yeah, some of it looks extravagant when you pull out the $12,000 fruit basket stands or the $1,800 Herman Miller chair. But in an $800+ billion annual budget machine running the largest military on Earth, these are rounding errors. Look, if you're running the biggest, most complex fighting force in human history, Millions of people, global bases, constant readiness. You're going to have bulk buys that sound absurd when decontextualized. I'm actually surprised it's not more. Think about it. You're feeding, housing, and equipping forces across every time zone in hostile environments with supply chains that have to work yesterday. If the waste police are shocked at $15 million on stake in 1 month, wait till they see what it costs to keep carriers steaming or jets flying. This isn't luxury. It's logistics at planetary scale. The real tell here is who's amplifying it hardest. It's the usual suspects trying to manufacture disharmony, paint the new administration as hypocritical on spending, same as they did with every prior outrage cycle. You complained about waste under the last guy, but now look. Except this is end-of-year mechanics, not some secret Hegseth slush fund. If Doge and the efficiency crowd want to go after real structural waste, great. Fix the use it or lose it rule itself. But turning routine bulk procurement into a scandal? That's just noise to stir division, make people feel like the system's rigged against them, when it's mostly the same old bureaucratic inertia. Bottom line, running the world's top military isn't cheap or pretty. If $93 billion in September shocks you, you're probably not thinking hard enough about what largest military in the world actually requires. I'm more surprised the number isn't higher, given the mission size. The outrage feels manufactured to me, like someone's trying to create chaos where there's mostly just business as usual on steroids. What do you think? Am I missing something? Or is this another round of the same game? And now, the big one everyone's eyes are glued to. The escalating attacks in the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran's threats to jack oil prices through the roof. This is the kind of story that hits every filter at once: persuasion, incentives, energy reality, and how narratives get weaponized in real time. Iran's IRGC is out there saying flat out, no more oil gets through for the US, Israel, or allies. Not a single liter, they say. They've hit merchant ships, tankers, cargo vessels, 3 or more in recent days. Fires, evacuations, the works. Traffic's ground to a near halt. That narrow choke point, 21 miles at its skinniest, handles 20% of global oil and a big chunk of LNG. Iran warns prices could hit $200 a barrel if this drags on. Markets are swinging wildly. Brent crude bouncing from dips below $80 to spikes over $100, settling around 90-ish today after massive reserve releases. IEA's 400 million barrels, US chipping in big. Gas at the pump? Up sharply. And it's rippling into groceries, shipping, everything. Apply the filter. Is this too on the nose for escalation dominance? Iran knows they can't win a straight fight. Their conventional stuff is getting shredded by US-Israeli strikes. But they hold the ultimate asymmetric card: choke the world's energy artery. It's classic persuasion. Threaten the maximum pain, global recession, 1970s-style shock, shock, shock. Force negotiations, or at least make the West blink first. Trump's responding with his style, vowing to escort tankers, hit 20 times harder if they block it, framing it as, we're winning fast, this ends soon. That's high-level persuasion. Downplay duration, hype resolve, release reserves to blunt the spike. But reality check. Reserves are a short-term band-aid. If Hormuz stays dicey for weeks, supply losses pile up, 4 to 5 million BD easy, and no pipeline network replaces that flow overnight. Incentives here are brutal. Iran exports its own oil, mostly shadow fleet to China, so they're threading a needle, hurt everyone else more than themselves. But if the US Navy goes full escort mode or clears the strait decisively, Iran's leverage evaporates, and the regime looks weaker domestically. Meanwhile, the media spins it 2 ways. One side screams, endless war, economic suicide. The other, Trump's strength forcing Iran to fold. Both are selling fear or triumph to their audiences. My take? This isn't cartoon villainy. It's predictable when you corner a regime with nothing left to lose conventionally. But the $200 threat feels like bluster to buy time. Markets already priced in panic, then calmed on Trump's de-escalation hints and reserve floods. Long term, it accelerates everything I've said about energy independence. Drill here, nuclear ramp up, renewables where they make sense. Wars like this expose how fragile the global system is when one narrow strait can hostage the economy. Watch the tanker traffic and Trump's next framing. If he declares mission accomplished soon and prices drop, it's a persuasion masterclass. If it lingers and inflation bites hard, the narrative flips fast. Either way, the real winner isn't tanks. It's whoever controls the energy story. Stay skeptical, folks. Filters on. Talk to you tomorrow.